Today we're answering the question, why does my ex seem so happy without me? But first, my name is Clay with ModernLove.life, where we help you get the great loving relationship that you're looking for without having to play mind games, without having to play hard to get, and without having to pretend to be someone or something that you're not, because you deserve to be loved for who you are. And if you agree with me, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. And while you're down there, think real hard about maybe subscribing to the channel while you're there if you haven't already. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. So, after a breakup, there's a couple different angles to approach this from. So let's go ahead and start with a few. After a breakup, you have to understand that your ex probably left the relationship because something in the relationship wasn't working. So in a certain respect, it makes sense that being out of the relationship might have removed some sort of pain or some sort of issue that your ex was facing in their life. And so potentially being out of the relationship could cause them to actually feel better, at least initially, right? Again, I don't know the specifics of your situation because this is just a video on YouTube and I haven't necessarily spoken to you personally yet. But if they were not feeling good in the relationship, if they were suffering, if they were not enjoying being in the relationship, then being out of the relationship could provide some at least temporary ease of that pain. That's like obviously the number one thing that people jump to that conclusion. And sure, it absolutely makes sense. Now, going on beyond that, we have to look at some other things that were happening. Now, obviously, your relationship wasn't all terrible. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been in a relationship to begin with. But, something happened that started to get that connection to go downhill. And that is absolutely worth acknowledging. But there are also good things about that relationship. And I'm sure that your ex probably misses you to some degree. They probably miss the closeness that you had, and they probably miss the connection that you had to some degree. And so what happens is that, people want to act with consistency towards the actions that they've made. They want to think that they've made the right choices. And so they go ahead and try to make it seem like the choices they've made in the past were the right choices. And that includes breaking up with you. So your ex may try to put out the image, the appearance that they have made the right choice by breaking up with you. They may do this through what we call posturing, trying to really only show the world or show you or show the people in their lives a specific slice of how they feel. And they're trying to put out a specific image to the world that, hey, everything's great, my life is better now that I'm not in that relationship anymore, now that I'm single, everything is wonderful. But maybe that's not the full picture about how they feel. Especially if you're just looking on social media, on Facebook, on things like that. Typically speaking, most people will not share, let's just say, some less than enjoyable moments or experiences or thoughts that they're having on Facebook. How do you win at social media? You basically make it look like you live a perfect life. And so none of us are living perfect lives. We're all humans. We all have good days and bad days, and we all have our concerns and our worries and our fears and our things that we're dealing with and all of that. And just know that your ex is no different. Just because they may be posting a lot of things online that says that their life is wonderful and perfect and everything, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's true. It's just what they're showing to the world. It doesn't tell you what's keeping them up at night. It doesn't tell you what they're concerned about, what they're worried about, what they're anxious about, if they're doubting that maybe they made the right choice or not. It's just what they feel comfortable showing the world. Most people don't post intensely honest things on social media. Unless they're, just trying to get sympathy from other people or something like that. But just keep that in mind when it comes to the social media side of things. Now, if your ex seems to be moving on and seems to be quite happy after the breakup, sure, maybe there's some initial relief from whatever pain or suffering they were experiencing in the relationship with you that, probably caused the breakup to begin with. But there's also this side that they could just be posturing. They could just be trying to put on this act, put on this show to the world to either give the impression that they made the right choice or to try and rationalize in their own mind that they made the right choice. Because again, we all want to think that we made the right choices in life, whether that's, with relationships or dating or anything else. We want to believe that we made the right choices. And so just know that what you may be seeing isn't necessarily the full picture. It's not necessarily the entire slice, whether it's on social media or whether it's based off of conversations that you're having with your ex. I mean, especially if you're not able to cut down beneath into the emotional level of communication, you're just kind of like skimming across on surface level communication. You're probably not going to get the full story from your ex. You're probably not going to get the full depth of how they feel and what they're experiencing and all of that. So you want to, additionally, number one, don't just judge everything that they say based off of what they're presenting on social media. But number two, when you do get the chance to interact with them and when you do get the chance to actually talk with them one-on-one, whether that's through texting or ideally on the phone or in person or something, you want to kind of cut down through those deeper emotional levels down to a deeper place where you can connect emotionally rather than just talking about surface level communications, like the weather or the current thing that's in the news or TV shows or work gossip or sports or anything like that. You want to talk about something that's a little bit deeper, because typically when it comes to social interactions, we sort of walk into them a little bit guarded, a little bit caged, and we don't really start to open up until we get the sense that it's safe to do so with somebody else. So how do we know that it's safe to open up to somebody else? Well, typically it's because the other person opens up and is honest with us first. Most people don't want to be the first person to open up themselves. They don't want to be the first person to be vulnerable. And so you want to be able to lead that way and be vulnerable and share how you're feeling and what you're experiencing and all of that stuff with your ex. I mean, obviously do it in a responsible sort of fashion. Like, don't come out with some sort of like guilt trip, like, oh, my life is terrible since we've broken up or anything. But, don't lie about it either. You may want to check out our playlist on advanced relational skills up there. It kind of helps you to get an understanding about all of this stuff. But still, you want to be able to start by leading the way with vulnerability yourself. Once your ex sees and understands that you are committed to the interaction, they are much more likely to open up and share some things themselves. And as you start to cut down to that deeper level of emotional connection, you'll find that they will start to drop their guard, they will open up to you a little bit more, and they might even be willing to admit that life hasn't been completely perfect ever since the breakup, and that maybe they have their own doubts, maybe they have their own things that they worry about, maybe they aren't sure if they made the right choice, maybe they miss you, maybe they miss the time that you shared together. Sure, maybe there were issues in the relationship, but there were probably also good things too, and maybe it's sometimes felt like they've thrown the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. And so this kind of conversation is really the only kind of conversation, is only something that you can have if you're able to cut down to that emotional level. If you're able to stop talking about, sports, and stop talking about gossip, and stop talking about current events, and stop talking about all of these things that don't matter, all this surface level communication. You have to be able to descend down into the emotional level of communication, okay? Again, check out that, thing on advanced relational skills to learn more about that. It's an entire topic in and of itself. We cover it in several videos, but that's what you want to do in order to get down to that truth about whether or not your ex actually does regret breaking up with you, whether they do miss you, whether they miss some of the nice things that the two of you shared, or maybe they just are genuinely, authentically happy because maybe they were just so genuinely miserable with whatever was going on in the relationship. And I'm not saying that to make you feel bad or anything. It's just, sometimes when you put two different people together, their personalities don't kind of come together in a harmonious sort of way. And it can result in misunderstandings, it can result in hurt feelings, it can result in all sorts of things that maybe just unintentionally created suffering for your ex, okay? And if you want to get back together, obviously, you're going to need to number one, cut down to that emotional level of communication so that you can actually connect with one another. You're not going to get back together just because you talked about sports or you said, hey, how are you? Or you were asking them about something that happened at work or something like that. You're going to get back together with them because you were able to connect with them on an emotional level, create a significant emotional bond with them. You're going to get back together with them because you showed them that they aren't walking back into the same relationship that they walked out of. That's another topic for another day. And you're also going to get back together with them because you've helped to navigate friction, the things that keep the two of you from being together. Like maybe they're in a rebound relationship, or maybe they feel embarrassed telling all their friends and family that, hey, right after I worked up the nerve to tell you all that we broke up, now I'm coming back and telling you that we're seeing each other again. And I'm kind of concerned because I want to make sure that this is the real thing before I get all the way in. And so you just need to navigate those three things: the emotional connection, resolving what caused the breakup in the first place, and also navigating situational friction. Anyway, this has been Clay. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Once again, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already. And if you want more, please feel free to check out this playlist over here on advanced relational skills, or you might be interested in this video over here. But once again, thanks so much, and I'll talk to you next time.